Arc Raiders has been out since October 30th, almost 2 weeks, and while most people have been praising this take on an extraction shooter, others have been less keen on it for a number of reasons. Arc Raiders is a PvPvE third-person extraction shooter that's been developed and published by Embark Studios. Humanity has retreated to underground cities to escape the surface world that's been overrun by arcs, or intelligent robots, who seem to simply want to destroy all humans. You're part of the group of raiders who go to the surface to scavenge the war-torn Earth to get precious scrap and supplies to bring back to the underground. So essentially, like all extraction shooters, the whole gameplay loop is about you looting as many things as will fit in your backpack and getting out of the match. Yes, there are quests you can pick up from vendors, but they're all aimed at you looting specific items or fixing a broken radio antenna here and there. Look, Arc Raiders is a fine extraction shooter. It doesn't do anything extraordinary from the genre rather than have a unique non-military sim setting. Escape from Tarkov suffers from being known as the hardcore extraction experience, where you have to crank up the audio to be hyper alert and understand that the guns reflect their real-life counterparts, and gameplay can be more sim-like than anything else. Arc Raiders is more appealing to the general shooter audience since it features vibrant settings, modernized movement, and simplified menus and systems. Extraction shooters have never been a genre I've been particularly drawn to. The gameplay loop of spawning in a giant map, looting for a few minutes, and attempting to escape has just never been that engaging to me. The biggest strength of games like Arc Raiders or even Tarkov is the fact that the community and people make up a big part of the fun. Interactions with fellow players in each match is what really makes the experience stand out from the monotonous looting mechanics. You can approach players as friendlies and make new allies, or you can end up in an all-out brawl. The people make the game fun and unique since you'll never run into the same types of people in each match. Playing Arc Raiders brought me back to my DayZ days where you had to really scrutinize whether or not you could trust someone or have to engage in a fight for survival.
I have a rubber ducky. Would you like a rubber ducky?
Which one of them?
I don't know. Here, let me drop it. There, this one.
Oh, it's a different button, I see.
Oh, thank you.
Yay!
When creating any game that hinges on people to make or break the bigger experiences and matches, you would think that the developers would understand the value of human ingenuity. Eurogamer came out with their Arc Raiders review on November 10th and gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. By the way, just a reminder for those of you who might want to throw a fit over scores and outlet reviews, each review is just one person, and it's one person's opinion. Oftentimes, if you read through the actual review and see why that person felt the way they did to score the game as such, you'll understand why the game liked or disliked the game. Also, if you don't like a review someone gave a game, it doesn't mean that you can't like that game or feel the opposite of an official review. A review is an opinion, and you can always make your own review. Lucky for you, the internet is full of people and opinions, and there's bound to be a review you agree with that you can then be happy with. Eurogamer gave Arc Raiders a review on the lower end, particularly due to the use of AI voice generation. It's not too surprising Embark would use non-human voices for Arc Raiders since the finals, which was their first game, used AI voice generation pretty heavily, with the game announcers being fully AI. Tim Sweeney, Epic Games CEO, replied to Eurogamer's tweet with a review link saying, "Political opinions should go into op-eds, folks." I don't know what about that post was political, and I don't know what's political about a valid criticism in a video game review, which is an opinion, but I don't know, maybe I was mistaken. I'm sure he'll clear it up, right? Ex-user DoubtTom asked, is the dislike of AI in the context of the current harm versus potential gains political? I mean, increase in power consumption to run centers is bringing up people's bills and jobs are being lost. Medical advances are being made, but AI art is way more prevalent. Tim Sweeney then replied, yes, this technology increases human productivity in some areas by integer multiples, and views on whether this is a net good and should be rewarded or bad and should be fought against are speculative and generally distributed along political lines. Sweeney went on to say, since the author states the pessimistic case, I'll put the optimistic one here. Game developers compete to build the best games in order to attract gamers. When tech increases productivity, competition leads to building better games rather than employing fewer people. DoubtTom then replied, I'm for that, absolutely, as an old lifelong gamer, but AI voices put voice actors out of work. The models trained on stolen art are also a concern. I know you fought for open platforms across the world to make sure devs keep more of their money from sales. Sweeney then replied, "I think there's an even bigger opportunity for in-game voice and voice actors. Instead of games having a few dozen or 100 lines of pre-recorded dialogue, how about infinite, context-sensitive personality-reflecting dialogue based and tuned by human voice actors?" Doubttown replied, "That would be incredible, an RPG where characters grow with you. Personalized Fortnite seasons where the characters and island remembers your input. I'm for that part. The people's electricity bills near the data centers not being regulated worries me currently, though." Sweeney replied, "I've always found pre-written lines of fixed dialogue super limiting. It was painful to write text dialogue in ZZT in 1991 after writing more dynamically composed text adventure games in the 80s. AI dialogue generation and human personality and tuning could totally transform gaming." Did you notice that he not so slyly avoided that whole question about ethics and morals? Yeah, don't worry, we all noticed. So if you remember back when the finals was released, Embark defended their use of AI voiceovers not by stating groundbreaking new ideas like Sweeney says this usage could be for, but rather for saving time and money. In Embark Studios' Meet the Makers podcast episode in July 2023, 2 audio designers confirmed that they use AI to create the voiceovers in the finals.
Rat Mouse asks, who did the voiceovers? And adds, they sound really authentic.
So here's the kicker. What did the voiceovers? So the thing is, we use AI with a few exceptions. So all the contestant voices, like the barks, and both our commentators are AI text-to-speech. For things we call vocalizations, like player breathing, vaulting, jumping, that's something we use us in the studio to record, like just grunting. We can't really get the AI to perform those kind of tasks yet. And since it's only exertive sounds, they will mix pretty well with all the AI text-to-speech voices. And the reason that we go this route is that AI text-to-speech is finally extremely powerful. It gets us far enough in terms of quality and allows us to be extremely reactive to new ideas and keeping things really, really fresh. So, for instance, if a game designer comes up with a new idea for a game mode, we can have voiceover representing that in just a matter of hours instead of months. We don't have to do temp recordings that needs replacing. And it's just, I think it's, we're really coming into like a new dawn when it comes to video game voices. And if it sounds a bit off, it still blends kind of well with the fantasy of the virtual game show aesthetically.
Yeah, definitely. And what you might notice is how we sort of stepped up the voiceover between CB1 and CB2. Ludwig did a fantastic job with that. And that's a lot since we have switched and experimented with different suppliers. And what is so incredibly cool with the time that we live in is that the quality improvements are exponential. Things happen so fast. Just a few months back, we couldn't get our TTS to produce projected shouting, and now it is possible. It's incredible. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, shout out to 11 Labs. You're awesome.
Who knows, maybe I'm AI. I'm not. Okay.
That's what I told you to say with my keyboard.
In the open beta of the finals, Embark actually walked these statements back and said, "In the instances we use text-to-speech in the finals, it's always based on real voices. In the open beta, it's based on a mix of professional voice actors and temporary voices from Embark employees. Making games without actors isn't an end goal for Embark, and text-to-speech technology has introduced new ways for us to work together." The studio released a statement to IGN saying, "We use a combination of recorded voice audio and audio generated via TTS tools in our games, depending on the context. Sometimes, recording real scenes where actors get together, allowing character chemistry and conflict to shape the outcome, is something that adds depth to our game worlds that technology can't emulate. Other times, especially when it relates to contextual in-game action callouts, TTS allows us to have tailored voiceover where we otherwise wouldn't, for example, due to speed of implementation." People have argued, well, Embark paid for voice actors to use their voices to train AI in-house, so it's not like they're stealing voices. Sure, that's nice and all, but this is still most likely a one-time payment that does not increase for the actors based on sales or popularity. Also, most likely this contract with the voice actors pays them once for unlimited free use of their voice across all their games and future projects without having to add extra compensation. We literally heard from members of their team talking about how they can get pro-grade voiceovers for less than $1,000 total. So we know that cost cutting is absolutely something Embark considers when using voice actors to train AI. Using this method allows Embark to get away with not having to pay voice actors for new voice lines that might be needed with game updates for ARC Raiders or the finals. Pay once and you get everything you need. It's also worth noting that some of these voice actors who take these offers might be in a really rough spot, who have no other choice but to take these jobs. It's no secret that the games industry has been suffering from layoffs and cut budgets for the last few years. So not only is this one-time contractual fee for their voice not only greedy and cheap, but it's also exploitative since a lot of voice actors are seeing themselves lose more and more work due to game development being unable to provide job security, or turning to AI. Some players bring up the fact that the ARC enemies have been animated with AI and use AI learning to adapt to player behavior in-game as a means to ask, well, why are AI voices the issue when other aspects of ARC Raiders use AI? I cannot stress this enough, but the usage of AI in animation is completely different from AI voice learning. AI has also been a tool for a really long time in this industry and entertainment, also just in daily use. But the biggest thing to note is that AI was always used as a tool, not as a replacement for the animator or the other person. Machine learning in AI isn't an absurd concept, and we've seen it used many times before with games like Shadow of Mordor, chess, Minecraft, and others. In Shadow of Mordor, the enemies you encounter will learn from your approach and behavior and better counter you the next time you meet. Or if an enemy ends up beating you, they build off that experience and react to your previous defeat when seeing you again. I mean, honestly, what did you think that the Nemesis system was? Chess is, at its core, a turn-based strategy game. With machine learning AI, the game is able to properly match against human players and learn strategy techniques that can then, in turn, teach human players what to look for when in a serious match. Machine learning in Minecraft has been used to create procedurally generated content for the map seeds. A similar process is used for all the universes in No Man's Sky. Borderlands 2 also uses procedural content generation with machine learning for different weapon drop types you might find. So this usage of AI is not new. Also, let's be honest, a lot of people use the term AI as that new buzzword and apply it to things that we've been using for a while now, but are now labeled as AI to generate more intrigue. Think of it like how corn chips, which are made out of corn, are now labeled gluten-free because gluten-free was the big term that everyone was looking for. If you've used any search engine to look something up, you've utilized a system that incorporates AI into their algorithms to give you the best results. If you've used Siri or Alexa to set timers for you when cooking, you've used a form of AI. Where we are now, AI will never go away. Using it as a tool is the best way to utilize it since that's what it was entirely meant to be from the start. Replacing humans in real work? Not so much. Specifically, replacing real human voices with AI completely rids the layer of immersion within a video game. The finals and ARC Raiders both suffer from a lack of personality from the voices you hear within the game. The announcers in the finals struggle to showcase any sort of emotion like surprise, horror, or excitement, even though that should be what they express since they're commentating an incredible game of destruction and death. Also, as someone who's literally commentated on esports casts, their commentary does nothing to keep me engaged. In ARC Raiders, the NPC vendors showcase very little emotion in their voices, and even your raiders' canned voice lines with emotes or pings are incredibly boring to hear.
Hey, Raider. Sorry. Yes. Don't shoot!
Hey, what can I get you? Just restock some nice grenades.
I'm all ears.
It's incredibly disappointing since the underworld you get a glimpse of through the vendors tabs looks so cool, and it makes you want to learn more about the world of ARC Raiders. I haven't even touched on the more concerning aspects of using generative AI, which is environmental impact. Just as Doubt Tom from X was alluding to, generative AI training requires an incredible amount of electricity and water, which then in turn leads to increased carbon dioxide emissions. It doesn't seem like entering one simple prompt into ChatGPT would really require so many resources, but unfortunately, it does. Data centers specifically for AI have been built out all across the country and siphon much of the necessary power and water in those neighborhoods they're built in. According to the ACM Digital Library 2024, it was found that a single AI-generated photo could use as much energy as half a smartphone charge, and that was for the less intensive models. According to the IEA Electricity 2024 Analysis and Forecast to 2026, if ChatGPT replaced the 9 billion Google searches that happen daily, the electricity demand would be almost 10 terawatt-hours yearly, which is equivalent to the annual electricity use of 1.5 million European citizens. In the research paper titled Making AI Less Thirsty, Uncovering and Addressing the Secret Water Footprint of AI Models, it was revealed that training GPT-3 in Microsoft's US data centers can directly evaporate 700,000 liters of clean fresh water. This research also gave an estimate of GPT-3's operational water consumption footprint, which is concerning to say the least. Beverly Morris, a Georgia resident, lives just 400 yards from a Meta data center. She moved in back in 2016, and this data center popped up after her establishment. Morris shared with BBC that she can't drink the water at home and the power and water don't function in her house. The data center disrupted her private well, which also caused a buildup of sediment. So even though Morris flushes the water daily with buckets and buckets of unusable water and has fixed her plumbing, the water she gets from her tap still has residue in it.
And I can't drink the water. We don't really know all of the effects that are going to happen to us from this.
I don't know if you can see that sediment.
So when Embark Audio Devs said in their podcast, when you need more, you can book another session. We actually make it sound very easy, and then it'll just sound good and not something even players who don't really care about AI ethics keep complaining about. Feels a little tone deaf, and it's not exactly the sentiment the industry should be following. And I'm not surprised that Tim Sweeney didn't even touch on the question of AI ethics or power usage when he was asked to clarify his viewpoint on that Eurogamer review. But is it really shocking that billionaire CEOs refuse to look at the real impact their decisions could or could have on the general public or even with their employees? Today, it was reported that Arc Raiders sold over 4 million copies worldwide, and it's been less than 2 weeks after launch, and it's reached a concurrent player count of 700,000 across all platforms. Nexon, the owner of Embark Studios, boasted that the finals boosted their revenue by 78% in the fourth quarter of the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year in North America and Europe. So, Embark has been successful and is doing quite well for themselves. According to CB Insights, Embark Studios was valued at $291 million in July 2019 after Nexon acquired them for $96 million. With the amount of eyes on Embark now with the popularity of Arc Raiders, I would hope that this will encourage the studio to be an example of finding the right balance between using AI tools and paying voice actors fairly and with respect to their talents, if Embark continues the trend of using AI voices. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.